Hello, this is James Graff with Advisors Mortgage Group, and I'm here to talk to you about Monmouth County, New Jersey. This has been my hometown since I was, I think, 3 years old. This is the community report for Monmouth County. Here's the demographics. These values are in thousands. There are 629,000 people total population. 51% of those are female, 49% of those are male. That's fairly typical of a county in New Jersey. Next, we'll look at the age breakdown. In the age group 18 to 26, there are 80,160. In the age group 27 to 35-year-old, which are your typical first-time home buyers, the median age is, I believe, 33. There are 65,060, not a needle in a haystack. The age group 36 to 44, there are 71,590. And the age group that I'm in, 45 to 54, there are 98,940 of us. And of course, that actually beats the 55 to 64-year-olds, which is only 95,000, still a significant number, 220, 95,000. So basically, we're breaking it down. 45 to 54 is the largest group by not by far, but 55 to 64 comes close. And then you're looking at 18 to 26-year-olds, 80,160. They're going to be coming up and buying houses. Unfortunately, the smallest group here is the first-time home buyers. That's the smallest group if we break it down by age. Next, we're going to take a look at birth rates, which are trending down, which is typical of every county I've looked at thus far. I know that Ocean County is actually trending upwards. The annual average over the last 5 years is 5,980 births. Not too bad, but trending downward. The labor force participation rate is the same that I've looked at in at least a half a dozen other counties, 62%, exactly the same, except, this is interesting, 88% males, that's a high number, 74% female, that's a low number. So you can take that with a grain of salt. You can talk about that amongst yourselves. I will not comment on that. Next, we'll look at Monmouth County education and housing. Values are in thousands, and we'll talk about enrollment. Now we're looking at elementary school, 31,040 children. Middle school, 33,190 children. High school, 37,000. So high school slightly more, middle school slightly less. The least is elementary schools, which some in my area are suffering from. They're getting so low that they're contemplating in the future of combining two schools. Next, we'll look at college. College is quite high, 40,370. That's high for New Jersey counties. The student-teacher ratio is a little bit on the low side, 12 to 1. I've seen that higher in other counties. Next, we're going to look at buildings by decade. These values are in thousands. Buildings built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and aughts. And we're looking at the numbers. They're fairly smooth across the board. Of course, there's an odd thing going on here, which I noticed my whole life living here, of course. There were more buildings built in the 80s. Oddly enough, the 60s had a lot of buildings built as well. Let me read the numbers to you. Buildings built in the 50s, 34,930. Buildings built in the 60s, 37,940. Buildings built in the 70s, 35,010. That's odd to me because it's the only county that I'm aware of at this point in time that has a low number built in the 70s. Usually it's the highest number of every county I've looked at thus far. The buildings built in the 80s, 38,900. That's a high number for 80s. Buildings built in the 90s, 30,860. It dips quite a bit there. And then the aughts, only 27,390 of houses built in the 2000s. It's an interesting makeup of housing by decade. You can see that the 80s, followed by the 60s, followed by both the 70s and the 50s, are almost identical, 50s and 70s. That's rare for a county in New Jersey. I would love to delve into the numbers below 50s, because I know more about that, having lived amongst so many old homes, Victorian homes built in the 1800s. Anyway, moving on, Monmouth County crime. Values are per thousand, brought to you by the FBI Crime Report. We're going to look at two categories, violent crime and property crime. Violent crime is quite low, 1.55 per thousand. Aggravated assault, 0.88 per thousand. Murder, 0.01 per thousand, the lowest I've seen thus far, on par with Ocean County. Forcible rape, 0.09 per thousand, the lowest number I've seen thus far in my studies. I can't wait to look at more counties. I've looked at least half dozen, and that's a low number. Robbery, 0.56 per thousand, that's a low number. Property crime is a different category, 13.67 per thousand. Petty theft, 11.37 per thousand. Burglary, 1.99 per thousand, fairly low. Motor vehicle theft, 0.31 per thousand, low. And arson, 0.03 per thousand. That is the lowest number that I'm aware of in New Jersey. I will be looking into that to see if there are lower numbers. I think that's the lowest number I've seen out of at least, looking at 8 counties or so far. And I have more research to do, but that's a low number. And with that, I have to thank you for listening to me thus far. It's been James Graff from Advisors Mortgage Group. And you can reach me at 732-500-6883 with any of your questions on any of these topics or related topics. I would love to help you. You can also reach me at the number 732-500, same number, 500-MUTE. That's 732-500-MUTE, and then we find out what this is all about. As in mute your trumpet, or as in mute this video if what I'm saying is boring you or not worth your while. And feel free to mute my audio on my incoming phone call if what I'm saying doesn't make sense to you. And with that, I have to thank you, truly thank you for not muting me thus far. I'm sure someone has muted and moved on. I have now over 40 educational videos up on YouTube. I hope you move on to those. And with that, I have to truly thank you for spending your very, very precious time listening to me. And I wish you all to have an absolutely wonderful day. Thanks again so much.